What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Sunbelt Syndicate. This one is going to be a little bit of a downside for any coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
Can we take that bottom guy off the screen, please?
Yeah, we will tentatively remove Cody for a minute. No, I'm just kidding. Before we get going too far along, TJ obviously, been riding with us ever since. He's hit me up and kind of joined us in this venture, and obviously a big-time Coastal alum, big-time Coastal Carolina baseball fan, Coastal fan of all things, really. But this was a perfect time for this to all culminate and come together and do a lot of extra coverage here that we probably otherwise wouldn't be doing. To shout out Seth and Marv, they've been trying to make it. No one had this planned on their schedule to be doing this far out. So it hasn't really worked out. Those guys will be back in return, but Marv's been on vacation and work road travel, and Seth is always doing that because he's working for a moving company, so he never knows where he's going to be from much more than a day or two ahead of time usually. But yes, TJ's joining us, and we also have a very special guest with us. Thank you to Cody Slovensky for joining us from the Golden Broom podcast. We got lucky enough to be on his show last week. And yes, he is wearing purple. He is an LSU Tiger fan. Cody, tell us how long you've been an LSU Tiger fan. Were you born and bred that way, or did something happen as a child that had you become a fan of the Tigers?
Yeah, so I was born in Louisiana, but I grew up in Alabama. And so my dad actually went to high school with Kim Mulkey, and which is crazy that he did. And when I was a little kid, obviously, I've always loved sports, and my dad was always a baseball fan. And for some reason, when I was really young, he took me to a few baseball games and realized I really liked it. But the way he worked at the time, his schedule, I couldn't play like Little League when I was really, really young. But when I got a little bit older, like when I was 7 when I started and stuff, I missed T-ball. But back in, it was so when like 94, 95 range, I remember we went to a LSU game. And it just drew me in. I was like, this is awesome. And then the next year, he came and gave me some baseball cards because I started collecting. And it was actually the 95 team set after they won the College World Series. And I was like, back then, I didn't think much of it. I still to this day have them in perfect condition in my binder, by the way. Very proud of that. Yeah. But no, it's always been in my blood. And going to school in the state of Alabama, I always proudly wore my purple and gold to school. I did not care. I love the smack talk. I've always embraced it, and nothing's changed. Here I am at 35 and still love it.
There we go. Well, I mean, there's no smack talk going on now, after national championship or anything. But but seriously, Cody has been a great person to interact with throughout this. Listen to him talk about LSU. He knows the team very well. That's why it was great last week. Obviously, it's probably not a lot of people that are going to go back to it now, but their show last week was fantastic because you've got TJ, who's an expert on Coastal Carolina baseball, Cody, who's an expert on LSU, and we did a great preview, all four of us. Vandy Chris, which if he's watching, it's not that we didn't want to reach out to you, Chris, but Cody's the LSU guy, so we had to have the LSU, the champ on, yes. And not necessarily to gloat, right? I mean, this is a Sunbelt focused podcast, but we definitely wanted somebody who talks about it from the other side, because we do have some talking points. I mean, a couple of things happened in this one, but first of all, congratulations, a 2-0 sweep of the national championship. That last one, 5-3, a lot more runs on the board, which is funny. TJ, we talked about, what was it, 7.5? Was that the point spread or the over under? I mean,
yep.
I was like, are you surprised? And look at that. Barely over. It's like Vegas knows what they're doing or something.
It's right? Vegas. It's written. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so let's talk about that because people that want to say that, right? I mean, I understand it. It's frustrating from a coastal point of view. The script's written, the SEC is going to win. Honestly, if you're ESPN, the better script to write was Coastal lose their coach, win this game. Now you've got it all on the line Monday, and you've got more people turning into your network. So I think the script, if you want ESPN to win, ESPN wanted a game 3. I don't think ESPN cared who won. I think they wanted a game 3 because they're going to get the viewers. NBA's over. NHL's over. What do you got left? Game 3, everything on the line, national championship game in Omaha. Unfortunately, we're doing this podcast instead. But, it was
valid alternative.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing. But, we will jump into kind of what got us here. So we'll take a look at this side of the bracket for Coastal Carolina. We'll talk about LSU's side as well. But Coastal gets there without a loss. And I think that was a big way to get there. TJ, just a quick overview on anything you want to touch on along the run to get to the series versus LSU in the championship.
I mean, just to get there, pitching really carried Coastal Carolina. You had Eichhoff that started game 1 against Arizona. He kind of falters, but not too badly. It was really Cameron Fluke that came in relief. They doubled up the starters, and they're able to get past Arizona. The Morrison gem in game 2, that was the highlight for Coastal pitching. 7 2/3 innings, 10 strikeouts. He was on it. It was probably his best performance of the year, especially when you considered what was on the line. And then against LSU, not to say that Eichhoff didn't pitch well, but it was the bats in that one. 11-3 victory to punch your ticket. I think that what defines this Coastal Carolina team, if nothing else, is that every step of the way, there was something that didn't quite go their way. Whether you want to talk about the selection committee, whether you want to talk about the way in which they're perceived in the media and the storylines that affect each and every one of their games in Omaha, but they stepped up to the plate every single time and they got the job done. They come up just short, but at the end of the day, they are number 2 out of 353 or something like that. So I would say, I'm a firm believer as an ex-athlete and, someone that doesn't make excuses. Second place is first loser, but at the same time, it's like, that's a tremendous season that they put together. 26-game win streak, Sunbelt tournament and regular season champions. They go 3-0 in the double elimination side in Omaha to go to their first College World Series final since 2016. 2 College World Series finals in 9 years is pretty damn good for a mid-major. So I would say that Coastal has nothing to be ashamed about. LSU was just the better team. That's just what it came out to be. They have 2 outstanding pitchers, Anthony Ianson, who pitched game 2, and Cade Anderson, the projected number 1 overall pick. They combined for 19 strikeouts in 2 games. There's just not much you can do about that, especially when you got Chase Shores coming out of the bullpen. That kid is electric.
Yeah, that small guy, Chase Shores, he's tiny.
Yeah.
just electric. Electric stuff from the LSU pitching staff kept Coastal at bay. But once again, 0-2, but by a total of 3 runs. Once again, Coastal's in that series, and it just didn't go their way. So props to Coastal, but congratulations to LSU.
Absolutely. Speaking of LSU, Cody, give us a little bit of rundown what you were seeing. What made you believe they would get to this point? You probably had it even earlier, but throughout this portion of the bracket before we get that final look there, what did you see early from your team?
Yeah, going into this bracket, I was a little concerned with us being matched with Arkansas. Obviously, Arkansas is one of the better teams in the country, and they've proven it all year when you have the Golden Spikes winner at shortstop, who is very consistent at the plate. Top to bottom, people say they were the most stacked lineup in the country. But, LSU did take 2 or 3 from them in the regular season. It was at home, so it made me think, hey, neutral site can be totally different. Then game 1, obviously, Cade Anderson comes in, looks really good, shuts him down. We handle business. I was like, all right, we're good there. The UCLA game, you get a rain delay, so Anthony Ianson only goes 48 pitches, and then the next day, Kason Evans comes out and does not look like a true freshman at all, shuts him down. It goes very, very good for them. Then the next Arkansas game, I don't even have a description for it. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. I believe in rally voodoo for that game. That's all I'm allowed to say on the air for what actually took place to get to that. But, If you would have told me that our catcher is going to hit a line shot to the outfield that's going to bounce off the left fielder's head, shoot about 50 feet out of the way to lead to us to a victory, I unfortunately would have believed it since Arkansas was in the game with the luck that they have. But honestly, that was a game that you could say LSU should not have won and should have forced another game. Thankfully, that wasn't the case because going undefeated means you have a full rested pitching staff ready to go, which was the same for Coastal. And the saddest part about this whole College World Series, though, is the fact that you had to see a lot of good pitchers take their final outings as a college athlete. Because Jacob Morrison pretty much said that was it for him in college. So,
yeah. TJ, you can touch on that while I pull up. I think we'll pull up the video of the. I guess it's a minor talking point from the first inning yesterday. But so start us off on something like that, since Cody touched on it with what Morrison has meant and the likelihood that he's leaving at this point.
I mean, Morrison has been tremendous. Morrison has been tremendous it feels like he's been here forever, but he's really only pitched 1 year in college. He is not much of a factor his freshman year. He goes down with the injury his sophomore year, which he then takes a red shirt. So he's coming into this year with very little expectations, but just oozing with potential as he has his entire college career. And he came in and just what he was able to do, basically dominate a conference. Every single time he towed the rubber in sunbelt conference play and for most of Omaha, all the way through the season. You just know that you have a win locked up. That's exactly what you want out of a pitcher. I don't know what else you can ask for. He's got electric stuff. He brings that intensity to the pitcher's mound. I think him stepping up in addition to the development of the rest of that sophomore class for the Coastal Carolina pitching staff, his development in particular really meant a ton to this program and made them one of the best pitching staffs in the country. This is complete speculation. I don't know that I don't know that he's going. I don't know that he'll leave I don't know that he will leave with that sour taste in his mouth, because you see how much of a competitor he is. And I got to be honest with you. If you watch his entire season, you know how good of a pitcher he is. If you're an MLB scout who maybe only caught his outing in Omaha, you might have your reservations and he might drop as a result of that. So I don't know that he'll leave. I think that there's a good chance that you see Jacob Morrison come back, because it would be his second season actually pitching in college. He's got I think 2 more years after this of eligibility left. I could be mistaken on that, but he's got at least 1 left. I wouldn't be surprised for him to lose it. I also wouldn't be surprised for him to go. So really the ball is in his court. I know that Coastal would love to have him back. But Coastal is retaining a big portion of that pitching staff. So it's really just a waiting game. Just keep your eye on Jacob Morrison's Twitter.
There you go. That's what we'll all be doing for sure. I'm not going to play this whole thing. We've kind of heard some of it, the sound bites, but there is some really good video on this portion through what happened yesterday. But we can see it here. And I guess now we've seen enough views that there was some type of warning given to the first base coach for what exactly is still kind of the question, I guess. Because I don't believe I've even heard Schnall say exactly what the reasoning was. And his first base coach should be able to tell him, but he hasn't come forward with that. But that's where this interaction started. He comes out of the bench like he said in the press conference, I got shooed away by a grown man. I'll start with my point of view as a former official, not an umpire. I never called the game of baseball, so I have no expertise there. But if I'm an official, I'm never doing this hand signal to a coach. very disrespectful. If a coach had done that to me as I was approaching or saying some kind of explanation to him, and they wave me off like this, oh man, I'm up to here. So I understand the Schnall aspect and the reaction to being shooed away like that. I then think, okay, he must have been cursing up a storm at him when he says, you missed 3 blank pitches, you missed 3 blank pitches. As the more I've seen the video and read the lips of him, doesn't seem like he's cursing there. But then he gets thrown for arguing, which is in the rule book. So I'm not saying you can't do it. Just seems like it's a little too pencil thin as it's written. This is a first-year head coach. If you're behind the plate, you should know those things. You get 10 seconds, say, Coach, I hear you. That's it. This is the only conversation we're having. Something. I don't know. I thought it was too fast. Cody, you're the outsider here as far as the Coastal aspect is concerned. So as a fan of the other team, right, LSU fans are going nuts. And if Coastal fans had it the other way with Jay Johnson, they'd been doing the same thing. But what was your thought process on it as it occurred live while watching the game? And then we'll play through the video as you speak.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was like, I didn't even understand what was going on because it was just so bizarre. At this stage of the season, you do not kick out a coach. I don't care if he punched him in the face. You don't kick a coach out. You just don't do it. I mean, as hard as he's worked all year to get to this stage, and now he has to miss the first 2 games of next year, that's crap. Let's just be real. It is. It's unfortunate. So game 1, the hit by pitch where LSU got called out because of the movement of the arm, Jay Johnson is shown literally biting his lips together because he didn't want to get tossed. So I'm wondering if before that series started, maybe they were warned by the umpires or reminded of something, or just something was said to them previously of like, hey, watch what you say because we're not afraid to toss you. Because Jay is usually very animated. He's not afraid to say whatever he is on his mind. So the fact that he was holding back at that, because let's be real, if I was a coach, I would have went and screamed about the hit by pitch, even though it 100% looked intentional to me, but I still would have argued that. In the case for Schnall, though, he had every right for his argument there because that pitch was not a strike. Now, someone might can make some argument to try to say it was, but I mean, if you watch it in live, you watch it slow motion, doesn't matter. It was high and inside. I mean, it had some movement to it, but there was nothing that indicated that would have been a strike. Now, Bodine might have been able to pull that off if he was trying to frame it, but in a realistic approach, though, that was not a strike. He had every right to make his complaint at that. That being said, I think there were bigger fish to fry there, and he probably should have maybe restrained a little bit, but I fully respect him for standing up for what he believed in right there. I don't think he should have been kicked out. I thought it was I can't believe I'm using this word, but immature of the umpire to do that. So it's a very unfortunate situation.
And TJ, at this point now we know that this ump also has somewhat of a history with some of these things in his past. He threw somebody in a game with Clemson 2 years ago, I believe it was, 2023. There's a little bit of different thing I've seen online, whether he was fired from the MLB or he has never given a full contract after kind of a trial run because of these types of instances from what I'm reading. But TJ, now give us your side as a Coastal fan when you're watching this thing play out.
Yeah, I mean, let's use his name. His name is Angel Campos, and he is an umpire that was ran from the MLB for situations just like this. You guys hear that?
Ceiling's coming down.
Angel's above you. Angel's
did you
about to
hear
come
that?
through. That was loud.
Okay. I think it was thunder. I don't know.
That's LSU voodoo right there.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I guess I shouldn't be talking about Angel Campos anymore. No, but his name is Angel Campos. He was run from the MLB for this same exact situation. He was once he once threw out Matt Kemp, I was reading, for encouraging a teammate. So this is the type of person that we're dealing with in this situation. So you can't expect him to have any sort of feel for the game. That being said, Schnall's got to, in my opinion, he's got to bite his tongue a little bit. Do I think he has every reason and every right to go get an explanation? Yes, because he didn't start arguing. That was not the beginning. He said, for what? You can read him twice. For what? And he starts coming out of the dugout. And that's when this started. And instead of just giving him an explanation, because like he said, 25,000 people there, a whole bunch of people, he can't hear what's going on, but he's been told that they've been warned for reasons that he has no idea. Give him an explanation and speak with him. You can't umpire escalated the situation. Is it the reason that Coastal Carolina lost? Absolutely not. I would like to make that completely clear. I'm less disappointed in the loss than I am in this situation because of the way that it was carried out. The fact that there's a couple things that lead up to this ejection for me that just lead to me as a Coastal fan not being happy with the way that this series played out. First couple games in Omaha, pitches are overturned because it's been told, or hit by pitches are overturned because it's the scouting report that Coastal Carolina gets hit by a bunch of pitches. Then when Fluky comes on the mound for his game in game 1 of Omaha, and there were pitches squeezed on LSU's side as well, but Fluky has to basically throw it right down the middle because now the storyline is Caden Bodine's a really good framer. Mm-hmm. And then in game 2, we're just, no storyline. Let's just throw out the coach for asking for an explanation. I'm sorry. And he didn't bump him. That 2-game suspension is going to get waived off. He didn't bump him because that's going to – he didn't touch him at all. And I love the quote. I should not be held accountable for another grown man's athleticism. Absolutely. Absolutely.
LeBron was proud of that, by the way.
Yeah,
it was a flop. It was a flop. There's no way around it. It was a flop. Or I wouldn't even consider it a flop. I would just consider it a trip. But
yeah, for sure.
I think Schnall's spot on. You can't sit there and you can't trip over someone else's foot and then get embarrassed and throw up another 2. Imagine if Coastal Carolina won that game. Imagine if they win that game. And now Schnall's out for the next game.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the stipulations that caused. And that's why you can't have insecure umpires. I'm sorry. It's not the reason Coastal Carolina lost. But they're making a really strong case for robot umpires.
Absolutely.
I have said my piece on the umpire situation.
Yeah. And I think, we've heard a lot of different things. The last thing we'll mention on it is a great quote. Oh, I didn't go full screen here. From D1 Baseball's Mike Rooney. And I think this is too good not to share. In fact, I'm going to make it the full screen here for a minute. I cannot think of one other sport, college or pro, that has consistently ejected star players and coaches in championship games. Not one. We must do better in this area. And then obviously, if you'd like to read that, you can go to D1 Baseball. Hopefully our writing will be up to snuff there on sunbeltsyndicate.com as well. But that is just a great quote. I really, and I agree, because you really have to think back in any really sport that some massive ejection happened in a championship. And
how many times has Dan Hurley been thrown out of a UConn basketball game?
Well, that's true. That's a good one. But
he hasn't. He literally told a referee this past season, and I love Dan Hurley. First of all, I know people on the staff. I've got nothing against Dan Hurley. He told a referee this year, this was the viral quote, "I'm the best effing coach in the game. Don't turn your back on me." And he doesn't get thrown out of the game. But Kevin Schnall in the national championship game goes, "For what?" And because you missed 3, and that's an ejection in the biggest stage. I'm sorry.
That's the other thing, right? Is this done if it's not a first-year head coach? I know what you said, Cody, but do you think Jay gets a longer leash if he were to have an outburst like this. I know you said he was smarter. He bit his lip earlier in the series and everything, but I don't know. And I'm not trying to put you in a hard spot there, but I am wondering if that's somewhat in the mind. Like, this guy's, he doesn't get it, so I'm going to teach him a lesson. Whereas a veteran coach who's been there, done that, you think like, all right, I'm going to go talk to him and tell him that we're not going to have it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Jay would have chosen what he said differently, maybe. But I think if it was the exact same way that it went down, I think Jay would have gotten tossed too, to be honest. I really think those umpires were ready to go.
Yeah, I agree also.
And I can't believe I'm saying this, but Jeff Head was not on the umpire staff in that championship game. If he would have been, he would not have tossed him. I guarantee it. That is one thing I can give him props for. He doesn't toss people for little petty reasons. And I do not like Jeff Head at all. Met the man twice, actually.
Oh, okay.
Not a fan.
Yeah. I've heard that many people are not. A lot of SEC fans seem to not be a big fan of his. But yeah, I did see his name mentioned a few times, so it was rather interesting. Like you said, though, this ultimately wasn't the reason the game was won by LSU. They also add, 4 runs in the third and fourth innings. Fry, Stanfield, and I pronounced the name correctly before. Curiel. I knew I was going to get tripped up once I had to read it live. But yeah, I mean, as an outsider, again, I'm rooting for Coastal because of the conference affiliation. It's been a really fun ride with their fan bases, obviously working with TJ as well. But I had to be honest with myself, and I looked at my wife and said, I think that's it. 5-1, it just felt like that moment. Like, I don't know how you guys feel, but I felt like if Schnall was thrown in the 4th or 5th inning because he was battling for his guys and they were in this 1-1 tie, they rally around that moment and maybe it helps them get over the hump or something. But being thrown in the first did nothing for them. Kind of like you said, Cody, I think at first everyone goes, what just happened? What's happening? And I don't think it did, a lot of times when a coach gets thrown, it's like, yeah, okay, where everyone's kind of pumped. The other team's happy. Your team's mad. I just don't feel like that was the case with the situation. And I felt like the 5-1 was like just a little too far out of reach, which ended up playing out as well. Cody, did you feel a little confident in that moment, or were you still pretty worried that Coastal could come back?
I was worried. I was worried all the way because of what Coastal does in late innings. And so in like the college baseball smack, we have a group chat that's like all the admins or whatever. And I mean, a few people are like, well, that's ball game. I was like, no, it's not. And cause I mean, when Coastal went up 1-0 with the home run, I was like, oh, they're pumped. This is where it starts right here. But do y'all remember what I said the other day about Anthony Ianson? He's going to give you a bad inning. Nate Yeski's going to walk out, and then he's going to shut it down. And he pretty much did that. That being said, he had to be visited twice, which shocked me. But no, I never felt confident because I just knew that it was one swing of the bat that can make a difference. And going into that game, I was like, Coastal has not hit a home run this entire College World Series. That's going to change. And then that first one happens. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is going to be a game. And then, we hit our nice little streak, which, by the way, I know this is a Sunbelt show, but can we talk about the fact that Ethan Fry hitting that line drive straight over the left fielder's head at that rate of speed? Yeah. That was one of the hardest hit balls I've ever seen stay in play. But no, when that little run happened, I said, okay, I'm feeling good about this. But I also, one thing that stuck out to me in that was Morrison was having an issue with his watch. And he wanted just to keep going and him call his pitches from the mound. I honestly believe had he not been pulled away to change his watch out, I think that inning would have went a lot differently.
That's a good point.
A guy of his stature, I would trust him making the decisions with Bodine all day. Because, I mean, it's just he's earned that right, in my opinion. And I think Schnall would have let it fly. I really do. But then again, I mean, I understand you're at a big stage. It's how you've done it all year. Like, I get it. I do. But, when it was 5-1, I was like, all right. I mean, this feels good to be in this spot, but I said it's just not over. And then the 2-run home run happens, and I looked at my wife and I said, this is where it happens. And then we got lucky. I'm just going to straight up say we thank God for Chase Shores, because that was, yeah.
And you said he's been coming in clutch throughout the whole time in Omaha too, right?
He has. His exact quote going into the College World Series was, "I have no pitch count. I'm going to throw until my arm falls off." And he realistically has a similar story to Morrison. So came in his freshman year. He appeared 9 times. He had Tommy John surgery. Because he got hurt middle of the season. Very promising freshman year. I mean, nothing that stood out. So he missed all of last year. He would have pitched in the Super Regional, supposedly, had they had beaten North Carolina. And then this year he comes back. But you could tell there was some rust there. Because obviously when you start out, just like Morrison, when fall ball, he was not anywhere near what he was at the end of the season. And that's exactly what happened to Shores. And he went from being when he came to college, everybody's like, this guy's a first-round draft pick, to middle of this season, it was like potential to be a first-round draft pick, to he's probably – might be weighing his options to come back next year, to now after Omaha, it's like he's top 5 rounds easily. He's gone. And he actually told some fans that was it for him in college after the game. So
interesting.
But it's kind of the same thing. Do what?
For Shores, you said?
Yes, for Shores. He's going to probably sign a pro contract, which I get. But it's kind of the same situation as Morrison. So Morrison just casually mentioned that was his last time throwing. So when they got back into town today and all that, and he looked at the stadium, he was like, he's like, I'm not going to throw there anymore. But it's kind of that thing of, you can say that's your thought process now, but you don't know where you're going in the draft.
Right.
And the negative about this draft is it's very pitcher heavy this year. So while any team would be lucky to get one of those 2 guys, there's a chance that they get picked up too late and they're like, hey, I can weigh my options and more than likely do better in NIL and develop even more and increase my draft stock and come back another year. But then again,
you two are going to know the answer to this better than I do, because I know there's kind of hockey and baseball are kind of similar in this thing. You can be drafted and still play in college, or is there a certain extent where that is no longer allowed, or like I don't know. Explain the rule.
The only weird thing is the transition from high school to college. Mm-hmm. You can get drafted technically as a junior in high school, or you can get drafted as a senior in high school. And if you choose not to take your senior year draft spot, then you must wait 3 calendar years until you are eligible for the draft again. You have to be your 3rd year removed from high school. It's a weird thing, and hockey is the same way. But that is just, I don't know. I think it's just to help out. I think it's to help out the baseball programs, I think is why the original rule was put into place. Because if you just have a whole bunch of one and dones in baseball, that's 40-man rosters, an insane number to try and overturn.
Oh, for sure. Well, there are 2 loopholes, though, to get drafted again. So coming out of high school, if you go to junior college, you're immediately draft eligible after your first season. And then also, if you turn 21 your sophomore year before the draft, you hit 21, you also can enter the draft a year early. Because like Cade Anderson, he's a draft eligible sophomore this year.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's weird how it works. I actually hate it. I really wish it was just 3 years, that it had to be 3 years. Like the junior college loophole is one that many guys don't take it like they used to. Like here about 10, 15 years ago, you would see a lot of top guys that were looked at that they believe they could be a top 2-3 round pick. They would decide to go JUCO for a year, then bam, they would get drafted and they would sign every time.
Okay, that makes sense, because I used to see stuff like that. Like, how is this guy getting drafted to the majors from a junior college? Like, don't you think he has to go to a big college? But that makes more sense about why you used to see that, and also makes sense why you don't see it this year or these days, because NIL is now a factor, right? Like, well, I'm not going to go to junior college and not get paid. I don't know. Maybe junior college can do NILs now too. I don't know, but you would
they
think
can.
money.
They can do it, but it's hard.
Right.
It's unless you're like Walter State in Tennessee, who's like the premier JUCO program. It's hard to get them a deal. Most of these guys actually make their money off working at camps and stuff.
Okay.
Or actual jobs itself. It just really depends.
Yeah. Got a kid from App State coaching my son in ice hockey of all things this week. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's not too bad, not too shabby. Didn't know that was going to happen. He comes home and tells me today. So I was like, oh, that's a random thing because like it's a club hockey team, right? It's not even a D1 sponsored thing. All right, I do want to get back to a graphic here because I wanted to talk on this. A lot of people talked about the lack of respect and the presser where they were asked what they admired most about the LSU Tigers. And Cody, you were a very sensible fan in that, and you said the question was awful. The kid doesn't really mean anything bad. It's just like why, it's a weird question to ask, and at the very least, it's a very, very poorly phrased question.
Mm-hmm.
Something more along the lines of what was asked to the LSU player would have fit a lot better. What does Coastal do that you need to look out for? That type of thing. What do you need to plan for?
Which
TJ,
is what was asked of LSU.
Right. Talk to me about what you thought of the guys hanging out in the dugout to watch the celebration from LSU as far as – this going to be burned in my brain so that we get back here next year, or was it just a full respect to the Tigers and what they were able to do to a really good Coastal baseball team as well?
I mean, I'm going to go kind of halfway on one of your answers. I don't think it was. I don't think we can save the whole respect thing. I don't think that we can save that narrative. It takes Cody. This doesn't include you. I'm talking about the deep corner, the dark corner of SEC fans in general. It takes a special kind of stupid to invent a narrative and then play the victim in it. But that's just me. However, I think that this was, their version of a Stephon Diggs, where they wanted to make sure that they could get back. At the same time, this is their last time on the field together. I think that it means a whole lot to them. You're in Omaha, you come up short, and it's not the color confetti that you want to see, but you get to be with your boys one last time. And Kevin Schnall came out from the clubhouse and was hugging everybody. So I'm sure that this was a bittersweet moment, but it was more time that they got to spend together. So I'm sure it had something to do with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Cody, I'm going to get your thoughts as we share this video. I think I can full screen here, but this was pretty cool. I thought Schnall gets kicked out of the game, obviously, but the Hall of Fame head coach from LSU, I would assume he's the one who made the call and said, I want to go talk to him. Right. I mean, I don't know for sure, but just thoughts on this whole interaction, what that might mean to Schnall.
Yeah. Skip Bertman's one of the greatest human beings on this planet. He really is. I mean, he took an hour of his time to talk to me and Hoover one time when he was a featured legend for the tournament. And for some reason, he didn't have a line. And I was like, I will miss this baseball game just to talk to this man. One of the coolest human beings. And, he really respects baseball coaches. He really does. And he sees the talent that Schnall has and the love that he brings to the game. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of a young Skip. Skip was a very aggressive coach, but he got the job done. He earned the respect of his players. And that's what I see in Schnall. He's a great guy. He is. I mean, he comes off just like when you see him, you're intimidated by him. Yep. But that's a man that loves his team. He loves his job. He loves the school he's at. And, there's nothing but love there. You're doing what you do for your love of the game. And Skip, he's going to take every moment he has to, praise a coach. And, so the team staying behind like they did, that is a pretty common thing that you see each year. But I do know for a fact that I've been told the players, there was no animosity between the teams. Straight up. Yeah. Like outside of it, they were, they nothing but respect. You can even see them when they're on the bases chatting with each other. I mean, it was nothing but love there. And it's like, hey, you're good at what you do. You're here. You deserve to be here. You're cool with me. Because obviously baseball players, they ain't going to look into like all this Twitter beef and all that. I mean, I'm sure they see it, but they don't care. They're the ones that are just trying to get a championship.
not as big of a deal to them as it is to all the fans who want to
Exactly.
flame the fire and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, I enjoyed seeing the Coastal players going and collecting dirt from the field for a memory to have, because it's a special season. Winning that many games and doing what they did, you're not going to hear about another team saying, hey, we won 26 games in a row and went to the College World Series finals. Teams aren't going to be able to say that in the future. The way this game is evolving, what they did is beyond impressive. So, I absolutely have nothing but love and respect for the Coastal program and all their players and coaches. They were asked the wrong question, and I can't hold it against them. I found it funny, honestly. It was, I don't know how I would even answered it. And, they play the game with grace. They believe in who they are and what they want to, goals they want to obtain. I had nothing but respect for them. The fans were also awesome. I saw a few fans that were trying to jump in and start some smack talk. I enjoyed seeing it. It was fun. I was like, you know what? In a weird way, it grows the game of baseball. And that's all I want to see. Sure. I've wanted to see this for years. And when Coastal got in back in 2016, I was thrilled. Let me rephrase that. I was actually very mad. I did nothing but curse that team. But it was a feel-good story. I have a friend in Canada. His family was going to Myrtle Beach for a vacation. And it was during the 2017 season. And I said, hey, you need to go see a Coastal Carolina baseball game. He's like, who's Coastal Carolina? I said, just trust me. Go do it. And he did it. And he said it was like one of the best baseball venues he's ever been to. He enjoyed it. His family had such a great time. I have never heard a bad thing about Coastal Carolina. I probably will never hear a bad thing about them. Only thing you can get is what the media feeds you. And unfortunately, everything's cut. You don't know exactly what was said after or before. And that's how it's always going to be. But, man, nothing but love and respect to that team. Very good team.
Absolutely. TJ, before we let Cody go, because we only kept you about twice as long as we asked you for.
Good.
But any final thoughts to send off the fan of the champs?
No, Cody, I've said it. I said it before when we were off mic. I said it a couple times over the last couple of days. Like, you are class. You are, that. Absolutely, congratulations. It was the better team this series. 100%. LSU was the best team in the nation. Coastal Carolina came up short, but like you've been nothing but class, and you and the LSU fans that have shown support towards Coastal Carolina, like, we can't thank you enough for that. There's always going to be some outliers, and those are the ones that shout the loudest, but it's nice to know that we've got people like you cheering on some of those big programs like LSU, and you guys deserve it. You guys absolutely deserve it.
Man, I sure appreciate it. Like, I will always support Coastal because I love to see teams do good in baseball. I genuinely hope that what we saw this year out of them brings the conference back all the way. Because, look, it was a very top-heavy conference this year with tons of potential. I'm really hoping that next season we see something different, because I will die on this hill, but Troy got screwed.
Yep.
I wanted them in the tournament so bad. That is a team that I absolutely have always just respected because I've gone to a few of their games. I just love that program. But no, the sunbelt is awesome. Honestly, Dominic, just seeing, this whole thing grow, that what you've put into it, and now TJ on board and just seeing it, it's really cool to see. Because, like last year, we had Ishmati come on our show, and then that led to a pathway for you to meet him. And it was just very cool. And that right there was like my first in-depth taste of the Sunbelt. And I'm hooked. It's a great conference. They need to be the fifth to make it a Power 5 again.
Yeah, I would love to see it, man. And I'll tell you what, the Broom Syndicate connection, it's only going to get stronger, I think. I think we've got a really good build here to be doing a lot of crossover events, because you guys, for those that don't know, the Broom covers everything. They have a lot of SEC fans in their podcast, but they are talking baseball across the board. Very entertaining show. Check those guys out for sure. Cody, you want to tell them before you get out of here about, I guess you have an interview tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow night, 8:30 Central, live on X, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. Just type in Golden Broom Podcast. You can't miss us. We have Seth Darter coming on. He started his career at Columbia University, transferred to Kansas State. Now he's coming to LSU. He was currently playing summer ball. He's flying home tomorrow, so he's going to come on our show, his first podcast interview. Extremely excited to have him. He hit a home run against us earlier in the season, and so his first taste to LSU fans was not a very positive one, so I look forward to talking about that with him. But no, it's going to be a fun interview. We like to have some guys on all the time and just hear their story from a different perspective. We do it from a fan approach. I'm not here to ask like in-depth thought of what's your game plan for this. No, I just want to talk to you. It's like a basic conversation. So we're just going to get to know him, make him feel comfortable, and just have a good time. It'll probably be I'm going to say a 30-minute interview, but as you guys know, if you say 30 minutes, it means an hour. It happens. It is what it is. But no, it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow night. So yeah, please, by all means, tune in. We'd love to have you join us. Ask live questions. We will definitely feature them on the air. And yeah, it's going to be a fun show.
Awesome, man. Cody, we really appreciate it. Go enjoy 8, and we will see you tomorrow night.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one. Appreciate y'all.
See you, Cody.
All right, man. I love Cody, man. He's such a good dude. Like working with college football dogs before and now on our own, each doing our own things. It's been tremendous to have somebody who continues to respect your craft and what you do, and we do the same with his. And so, man, it was fun to do that preview last week.
He's a good dude, and he's also really good at what he does. He's probably the only reason that I'm not upset that Coastal Carolina did not win the championship. For fans like that, like seriously, I meant all of that. He is class. Congratulations to Cody, and they're going for number 9 next year.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? They just reload, which again is a credit to Coastal Carolina for what they were able to put together and do this season. Okay, so now the season is complete, the postseason is complete, and we have D1 Baseball's top 25 rankings. These are the rankings we use throughout the season because this is what the NCAA baseball site uses, is the D1 top 25 rankings. Rightfully so, LSU 1, Coastal 2. I don't think there should be any disagreement there. I mean, we saw how close it was. We've already talked about that. We won't go over that too much more. But to note, there is another sunbelt team within the top 25. And again, I believe rightfully so. Number 22, Southern Miss. I do want to get to a comment here from Buzzard Ball, who left this comment much earlier, but I want to get to it because he says Southern Miss has a chance to be really good again next year. We picked up arguably South Alabama's best hitter and what would have been Louisiana's best returning hitter. If we can keep Allen out of the draft, watch out. Also got Crabtree from Tennessee. He has starter potential. So there's a little inside look, a little inside peek into Southern Miss going into next season. We'll talk a little bit more of an overview as the whole conference toward the end here. But anything to note about this top 25? Anything you disagree with or dislike here?
I disagree not using the Razorbacks logo for Arkansas because that definitely throws some people off.
Yes, I agree too. I do agree. I'm like, why is
what's Alabama doing up there? No, I think that this is a solid list. 2020 hindsight, I guess. But D1 baseball is usually pretty good with these. I love the fact that they keep Southern Miss in there. I don't know if I have Southern Miss below Oregon and Mississippi, but that's just me. I think at 20 behind Georgia is probably a good spot for them to finish up at. And I still don't know what Clemson's doing on this list, but that's just a personal vendetta at this point.
Yeah. So I saw one comment that kind of bothered me earlier because this person was focusing on the Sun Belt, saying all these teams didn't have winning records. Of course, they went on this 26-game win streak. Well, let me throw the opposite side of the coin at that with all the stuff they didn't mention in that comment. On this list, they beat number 4, number 6, number 7, number 11, and number 22 on their way to that 26-game win streak. So you can miss us with the whole they didn't play anybody outlook. We already knew that was true, but for the people that are watching that maybe didn't realize the gauntlet that they did actually run through, only at the hardest part of the season to do that gauntlet as well. I think you need to put some more respect on Coastal's name. But again, we've kind of gone over that. I don't know if there's anything more to add at this point. So we will get to what the standings were the last time we looked at the sunbelt portion of the conference. And these are, again, this is looking back to when the season ended, at the time Coastal being number 11, Southern Miss being number 12, and Troy had just fallen out of those rankings after that season-ending sweep versus Southern Miss here. Any notes here? Anybody that really shocked you, or somebody that overperformed maybe? I don't know if there was anybody who overperformed besides Coastal, but I think some people thought they'd be up there as well.
I mean, I think that you can I think that you can say that ODU overperformed. I think that that's fair to say. I don't think that ODU, with everything that they had going on with their program, had a ton of expectation. I mean this in the best possible way also. Like they overperformed. Like they had a ton going on. They weren't even playing. They split their home schedule between 2 or 3 different sites.
Yeah, I think so.
And they finish 6th in a top-heavy conference. I mean, so you take out the outliers of Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, they're basically the 4th-place team in this conference. I don't know. I think that ODU overperformed in the best possible way, as much of a compliment as I can. And I think the same with Marshall. I think that Marshall, while they were expected to do better than ODU, they had a run in the tournament. They had some really big wins over the course of the season. Finished 31-24, as you see there. Yeah, Marshall and ODU, in my opinion, are the overperformers. I think. I think that's all I got for that.
Yeah, I 110% agree with the Marshall one. I do pretty much agree with you with ODU too. I know that they wanted better for themselves, but pretty good spot to finish. I think Arkansas State started showing a lot of promise towards the end of the year, so I think there's some teams to watch out for. I definitely classify Texas State as an underperformer. I think that's a team that we thought was going to be up in that top 3-4 range, and they were one of those teams on the cusp to even make the Sun Belt Conference tournament there towards the end. So and they also had some really big wins, so it was just kind of a weird season for them. I think Georgia Southern fans specifically are going to think that was a down year. I'm not sure what the expectations into the season were. I didn't pull those up. I probably should have done that. But I would say that there was a disappointing season. And then, to me, the drop-off from JMU was much bigger than I think anybody would have expected. They did lose a lot of players, but I thought, they've reloaded in football, they've reloaded in basketball, and they put themselves back in the same positions. What's the reasoning why they wouldn't do it for baseball? But it was a 10-20 year overall, or 10-20 in the conference, 17-38 overall. So just a really ugly look there for JMU falling off this season. We'll see if they can get back. We now know ULM's going to have a new coach heading into next season, as Coach Federico has joined the La Tech staff, and would be interesting if he finds himself back within this conference soon. We'll have to see. We're not going to get into the realignment talk tonight, TJ. We've done enough of that stuff lately.
We've done enough of that.
But we could see some movement here if Schulte is correct over there on Locked On. I mean, he's talking about hearing some stuff soon. Just a quick touch. We're not going to go in depth on this. The 2025 Sunbelt Player of the Year, Nick Monaster. Got to see him play live one time. Definitely an impressive dude. Very, very athletic baseball player that can get it all done. Any comments there, TJ, on Monaster or what he meant to the Southern Miss program this year?
No, I mean, he's a tremendous player. He held it down up the middle, got it done at the plate. That is an incredibly talented Southern Miss squad, and he was the standout. I don't think that there was anyone really. I mean, other than maybe Bodine, I think Bodine is the the second place in this award, maybe. I don't know. You've got a bunch of great players, but I'd probably say that Monaster gets the edge there. So no notes. I'm still on board with Nick Monaster.
Yeah, definitely.
As I'm on board with the next guy that you're about to show.
Yeah, I knew you would be. Pitcher of the year, Jacob Morrison, ended the regular season. Was he 12-0 in the regular season, or was that including the playoffs or postseason?
He was
10 or 11-0, maybe.
He was 12. He was 11-0 in the regular season.
Okay.
Plus what he did in the sunbelt tournament.
Gotcha.
His 12th win was over Oregon State, and then the one loss is against LSU in Game 2.
Makes sense. All right. Well, we'll see if what he said earlier remains to be holds true.
We'll see.
I did see that clip that Cody is talking about. He does say that. He didn't make it up, but yeah, you can change your mind. And if NIL money comes in, could happen. Newcomer of the year, Caleb Freeman. I mean, this guy was hitting stuff left and right. Pretty good player there for Georgia State. They kind of started hot and cooled off. They're kind of the opposite of Arkansas State. Still had a chance to make it into the Sunbelt Conference tournament on the last day of the season. Was there live to see that one. And Caleb Freeman, a very noticeable player. Not your biggest guy in stature, but definitely just a tried and true baseball player. Impressive to see him there. Freshman of the year, Tyler Linchenberger, already gone. Already signed to Clemson going into next season. So our freshman player of the year will not become the player of the year. There's no shot. He will now be playing for the TJ's favorite team in the Clemson Tigers. So we'll see if he gets a Linchenberger jersey. The 2025 Sunbelt Tony Robichaux Leadership Award goes to Carson Pato of Southern Miss. Congratulations to him, a senior leader there for the Golden Eagles, and we know the run that they went on there in the postseason. I'm going to leave this one up to you here, TJ.
You going to leave this? I mean, what? I don't know. I don't know that he should have won it. I don't know. You got Silva from Arkansas State. I don't know. Kevin Schnall, I guess he deserves it. 56-13 record on the season. Led a team to the College World Series final. Just a tremendous year for Kevin Schnall in year one. Bright future.
Absolutely, very much a bright future ahead of him. I think he's going to learn a lot from that interaction in the first inning. But I hope he does not lose the fiery intensity part, because that's kind of the part that makes baseball coaches what they are, to get fired up and get their guys behind them. Because it's not, unlike football, it's not like you can, have the big physical hit against the opponent to get everybody pumped up and riled up. Sometimes your manager, your coach has got to go out there and do that type of thing for you. So I don't really want to see him lose that. We won't go through all of this, but on screen at this point, the first team all conference members, which includes Cameron Flukie, no surprise there. Jacob Morrison as well, JB Middleton, Kobe Allen. None of those guys are surprised. Caden Bodine, Blake Cavell, Nick Monaster. I mean, this is a literal all-star roster that could have probably ended up in the same area as Coastal with these guys all on one roster as well. So it would have been fun to see, and they bring back that EA video game from NCAA baseball that they played. I don't know. They made that thing like one time back in 2009 or something like that.
Yeah.
That thing was fun. It would be fun to put this roster together to go play all over the country against all different types of schools and see what could happen and transpire, because unfortunately we'll never see it in real life. Second team all conference includes a couple people. Dominic Carbone, who was a big contributor to Coastal Carolina. We talked about Caleb Freeman earlier. Matthew Russo is a big name that you heard throughout the entirety of the season. Ozzie Pratt as well. Isaiah Walker, who thankfully appeared on this very program earlier in the season for ULM. Jake Cook, who is making waves at the MLB Draft Combine this week with his speed, his lateral speed, really. I guess little bit different from the 40. I think they run do you know this is a 30-yard dash? Is that kind of what they run for Major League Baseball?
I mean, they typically run a 60-yard dash.
Okay.
That's your home to second time, but in a straight line. They do a 60-yard. They also do, I don't know if this is possibly it, they do a shuttle. They do like a 20-yard shuttle. They start in the middle, and then it's 10 yards this way, 10 yards this way, 20 yards, and then 10 back to the middle. I don't know. That could be what it is, but yeah, it's usually 60. Okay.
Well, I think whatever clip I saw him running was just one straight line with the little gates every couple feet, and then he ran like a 3.5. So I don't know what kind of distance that is, but apparently that's really, really good. Okay, Buzzard Ball saying MLB Combine does a 30-yard dash. So it was the 30-yard dash. I would assume that's what it was because it looked like it was about 40, but then, you're not running the same times as the NFL guys, so you know something's up there. So, but yeah, he blazing speed, surprised a lot of people, although some people were trying to correct people, say, if you watched him throughout the season, you knew this was a dude who could just cover ground in the outfield. So there is that aspect to it. Really good player from Southern Miss there.
Guy that could really hit home runs late season too.
Yes, absolutely. Can do it all. And there's no question he's going to be taken in the draft. It's just where at. Tyler Figueroa is a name as an app guy that I heard throughout the season down there at the bottom as a utility guy on the second team all conference. And we've got a quick look at the Sunbelt Conference bracket. So we now know the only teams that did not make the tournament this year were South Alabama, Georgia State, JMU, and ULM. I guess we'll use this bracket, those teams that I just mentioned as well, and talk a little bit, again, overview. There's going to be a lot of movement, I think, because of NIL and transfer portal and the roster changing, right? We're going from 40 to 34, or is it? How's that?
It's down to 34, I believe.
Down to 34. That's right. So we'll have to see, what transpires with these teams across the board. They can offer more scholarship money because they're losing spots, but they are technically losing spots there. And Buzzard Ball saying Jake also set the record for the broad jump. So that might have been me catching it too early and not seeing that portion of it. But yeah, just a standout athlete. So he's going to do wonders for some Major League Baseball team here. But yeah, let's use this bracket. Talk a little bit about what you kind of, again, basic overview going into next season. Is Coastal number one for you, first of all? And then maybe who jumps up and surprises, who maybe disappoints from an early perspective?
Well, in terms of just overall, I think that everybody's going to lose a ton of contributors. I was doing some basic, just counting how many seniors, how many upperclassmen we had. I honestly stopped counting for Troy once I got to 18. 18 seniors that I had seen at least before I stopped counting. Not all of them were impact players, and not all of them they didn't lose their entire starting lineup. But you're watching that's the unfortunate reality of baseball is you are going to have, with larger rosters come larger turnover. Coastal Carolina, I expect to be competitive again, just because most of their pitching staff are, like I said, that star sophomore class. Carbone was a sophomore. Fluky's a sophomore. If you lose Jacob Morrison, you are going to lose Riley Eichhoff. He's a redshirt senior. But if you lose Morrison, you have Fluky and you have Luke Jones. Those are the tentative 1 and 2. And then you still have Carbone. I'm not sure if Ryan Lynch has another year of eligibility. But that would be a big loss. But if they can get him back, I mean, this Coastal's pitching staff is really good still. Southern Miss, I think, just puts a great product on the field regardless. They are losing a decent core, much like Coastal is in their lineup. But this is a Southern Miss program, much like Coastal Carolina, that have sort of defined themselves as tough baseball schools. They know how to build programs. They have a winning culture. So I don't think that Southern Miss and Coastal have anything to worry about. I think Troy has some question marks. I don't think that they're out of the conversation. Didn't really look at Marshall, if I'm being completely honest, on who they would lose. If they can retain a decent amount of the core that they had this year, Marshall could be really good next year. I really liked what I saw out of them this season. Those are really the four teams that I expect to turn things around, or at least still be competitive.
Yeah, I had a hard time disagreeing with much of that at all. I guess the biggest question that we said we won't talk about realignment, but I'll throw it back on the burner for one more time, because Texas State, right? I mean, that's a team that could return to form. They've had some good big wins. They've already lost, one of their best pitchers for this past season to another program. I forget where he's headed, but he's already committed to the next program he will be playing for. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires there. As we know, Texas State would not be leaving the conference for baseball that quickly, but they could announce their intentions to do so, and this could be their last year coming up in the sunbelt. Again, tentatively, nothing official on that, but could be interesting aspect at play as they try and certainly stay relevant within a very, very good Sunbelt conference before they would move over to whatever the Pac is going to do in baseball, which can't possibly be anywhere near the Sunbelt level. But that's going to be something their baseball program will have to live with if it ends up happening. For me, go ahead.
I also expect Arkansas State to continue to grow.
Yes.
I think that Silva did a phenomenal job this year. I think with his second full recruiting cycle, and he can get some more of his guys in there and continue to develop them, I think Arkansas State's going to be a team to watch in the West.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Silva's got something going there. I think I do still really like what Marshall's doing as well. I think you're right. I'm pretty sure that most of their core will stay together. It'll be interesting to see if they lose some guys to programs that will just pay out more money. I mean, it's the fact of life that we know we have to face anymore these days. But if not, I expect Marshall to be right up there towards the top, man. I was really impressed with what they did. I don't think the Cajuns stay down long. I think that's a team that typically reloads, so I expect Louisiana to be back up at the top. From what you just told me, I'm more sold on Troy falling off a bit here. We'll see if they're capable of bringing in a whole new crew to kind of take over there. They got a great head coach, so that's not an issue. But can he get enough of his guys going fast enough to keep Troy towards the top and, get them into the postseason after they were somehow left out this past year? And then I don't know if I see a ton of change throughout a lot of the other teams. I mean, I think ODU can be just as competitive again. They're going to have that brand new stadium done. So does that equal 5 or 6 more wins and they're up in that top 4 or 5 this year? I don't know. Maybe. Buzzerball agrees with you, saying I like Arky State and really improve next year. I am high on Silva. So yeah, I mean, hi ho Silva. That was awful. That's a dad joke there. Don't get too excited. But
I do have I went through Marshall's really quick while you were talking. I'm only counting 9 seniors. And a couple guys that I was looking for were Elijah Vogelsong. He's a senior. Not sure if he has any eligibility left, but Micah New, junior. So Micah New from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, since I know it must be brought up each time we talk about him for you. He's coming back. Nicholas Wyrick, he's a senior. He'll probably be gone, or Wyrick, excuse me. I mean, there are some big contributors that are leaving, but there were also some guys, some younger guys like Micah New in that class of juniors that are coming back. So I would say Marshall will be top half again. I think top half is fair.
Yeah, I think so too. I would be surprised if they weren't in the top half for sure. That would be a disappointment for me for what we've seen. But yeah, any more news or notes? I mean, I think the last thing that we'll leave you with from my side of things is we're going to continue to work in the background, get some more stuff done for you guys on the website specifically. We are going to kind of retool some of the shows, but nothing big sweeping changes. No one needs to be scared here. But we're just trying to make them sharper, better segments, stuff that people really want to continue tuning into and provide you guys with stuff you want to watch and listen to. And we really appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll probably take some type of short break. But as we did last year, we'll probably throw up some random episodes every once in a while. If realignment news comes back down the pipeline, we will be jumping on and covering it for you. But other than that, TJ, anything left to shout out to the people?
No, I was going to say it's I think none of us expected to block out June on our calendars this year. So I think that a break is in order. We've talked about a break, and we'll take one of those. But we'll still be around, like Dom said, with realignment. That's something that we'll do. We're also hoping to get some football preseason content up there, talking about training camp, talking about a couple people. We're currently recruiting writers, hoping to get some people in the area. We have a couple applications now, Dom. This is some news for you.
Nice.
So yeah, we're working in the background, and we appreciate everybody for tuning in. I mean, I've personally watched this show grow tremendously for baseball. And I love baseball. I'd watch content for baseball all the time, but this isn't even football yet. We've got a couple more months for that. And to watch this grow in baseball, just wait for football. Just wait for the content we're able to give you.
Yeah, it's going to be the best we've ever done. I can absolutely guarantee you on that. So thank you all for tuning in. Enjoyed baseball season tremendously. I expect to do so again next season, and we will see you guys real soon.
Football season.
Sunbelt Syndicate.